Okay, well, it's 22, so it's about Australia on Australian time, isn't it? That's half past in equivalent terms, so let's make a start. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to Happy Science today. I guess, obviously I see some familiar faces, also some new faces. So some people have probably come to Happy Science after going to the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo last week. I only went on the Thursday, but then I went back home to New Zealand for my dad's 80th birthday, so I missed the rest of the expo. But Kaz and some of the other people did a wonderful job there trying to put out the thoughts and ideas that are in Happy Science. So it's great that for whatever reason that you came along today to find out a little bit more about Happy Science. Of course, we've got about an hour and a half. I just want to use the first 20 minutes or so to really just give a brief idea about what is Happy Science, where it came from, what's the goal of Happy Science, what's the fundamental teaching of Happy Science. So just for the first 20 minutes to give you an idea of that, and then for after that, the hour after that, we'll concentrate on the theme, which is how to create a spiritual screen. So you must have been attracted to that theme of how to create a spiritual screen. And I guess since you're attracted to that idea, you must have some sort of spirituality or belief in spirit or belief in the other world or belief in the soul or some sort of spiritual belief, because if you didn't have a spiritual belief, then of course you wouldn't see any need for having a spiritual screen. So it's great. Already the people, I guess, in this room have got some sort of level of faith and, in the other world or spirits. So I'd like to, well, my name first of all is Steve Bellingham, so might as well give him an introduction there. So I'd like to start just by showing a short, about a 5-minute video that will show the goals of Happy Science. I mean, Happy Science itself is in over 100 countries now. Many of you have probably never heard of Happy Science before. Maybe you've been to other expos. We often go to the expos. Maybe you've seen it and thought, oh, what's this Happy Science? And it originated in Japan, and in Japan the name was Kofuku no Kagaku. Well, Kofuku no Kagaku literally means happiness of science, but Japanese language often is a little reversed. So happiness of science literally means science of happiness. So it's all about the study of human happiness. But the happiness that we study isn't just a happiness in this world, because based on the truth that there's a world beyond this world, it's a happiness that we can experience now that we can take with us. Happiness is only relevant if it's a long-term happiness. If I live my life in a way that I feel happy now, but actually it creates some sort of suffering when I get back to the other world, that wasn't true happiness, right? But on the other hand, if I live my life believing that, oh, I'll be happy when I go back home to the other world, but I'll live in misery now, that's not true happiness either. So Happy Science is all about a way of finding and how to live our lives in a way that we can experience happiness now, but it's a happiness that's a true happiness because it continues with us when we leave this world after we die. So let's just watch this video here, which is about, like I say, 5 minutes long, and it's on the goals of Happy Science.
Ethnic conflicts, racism, conflicts between religions. Happy Science's goal is to resolve these conflicts and bring the world together. This work is not just the work of government leaders. This requires a change in thinking in all of us. For every human being has a part of God's light within us. The color of our skin and the language we speak may differ, but all of us were equally created by God. We are all children of God, children of Buddha. Our physical body is simply a vehicle with which we go through our soul training here on this earth. Through many past lives, we have been born in various ages and in various parts of the world. A person could be white and American today, but may have been black in a previous life, or born as an Asian before that. It is because we know this truth that Happy Science members transcend differences in race and language to be connected by the bond of Dharma, or the teachings. We must not be distracted by the small differences, but look beyond them to see the essence. When we do so, we become able to love each other as fellow human beings. Major world religions also share the same source: Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Japanese Shintoism, etc. The personalities of their founders and the age and time they were founded in are different. But the eternal truth that is woven within them comes from a single shared source. Happy Science members come from many different religious backgrounds. But by believing in the same truth, we can overcome our religious differences and understand one another. Happy Science aims to create a better world. A world where people transcend hatred and embrace love. A world where conflict is replaced with love and peace. It is a world where spirituality and science can coexist and progress together. That is why new teachings are being taught and revealed today.
Isn't that the way of thinking that can change the world, right? That's what changes the world, a way of thinking. It's not guns, it's not arguments, it's a way of understanding. To come to a common understanding, doesn't matter whether people are Christian, Buddhist, Islamic, it doesn't matter the faith. The main thing is to believe that there really is something beyond just this human body, that I'm more than just a physical being, that I have a soul, and that my soul has a creator, that there's another world, that there's a God. So the main thing in Happy Science is for us to get over these differences in the small points about whose God is right. All the teachings come from the same source, so this is an essential part of the teachings in Happy Science. Now, today as we go along, and I should explain this because this will really give a clear picture about why we need the spiritual screen, but one of the essential teachings in Happy Science about the meaning and the purpose of our lives is that we are here for soul training. Right? The purpose of this world is a place for soul training. That our real home is the real world, the spirit world. Right? So we live as spiritual beings. Take away my body, what do I have left? I have a spiritual body. What's the core of my spiritual body? It's my mind, my character, the way I think. So each one of us here, the way you think, your personality, that's you. So if right now you died, you would actually continue to live and you'd be thinking just the way you're thinking now. What's important to you, your interests, whether you love art, whether you love dance, the sort of things you're interested in, the way you feel, that would just be exactly as you feel right now. But you just wouldn't have the physical body anymore. So you take that character with you back to the other world. Right? That's you. That's the essence of you. The physical body isn't you. If we can have that understanding about the truth, we stop suffering about so many things in life. Because we don't worry about our body anymore. As I get older, I don't worry I'm getting older. I'm not getting older, my body's getting older, right? So one day I'm going to leave that body behind and I'll return home. So the whole fear of death and the whole fear of aging just goes away once we really understand deeply the truth that I'm a spiritual being, not a physical being, right? So this is one of the main fundamental teachings of Happy Science, that the other world's the real world. We live there as a spiritual being in that spiritual world, but we come here to train our souls, right? So what's the why do we come to the earth to train our souls? Well, the key to that, and this is going to also be covered today, about the idea that in the other world, the wavelength of your soul determines where you live in the other world, right? There's a realm where angels live, and the reason that the angels are in the angels' realm is because they have the mind of an angel. So if any of you have the mind of an angel, which means you just want to live your life to serve other people, you don't really care so much about your own life, you just want to bring happiness and serve other people, that's the mind of an angel. If you left this world and returned to the other world, you'd then be in the realm of the angels. So whatever the state of your mind is will determine where you go in the world beyond this world. But because of that, when we're in the other world, the people we are living with have very similar minds to ourselves. They're all agreeable. I mean, even this is the different hierarchy of up and down between the mindset, but there's also a sideways mindset. For instance, there's people in the heavenly world that are Christian, but there's also people in the heavenly world that are Muslim, and there's people in the heavenly world that are Buddhists. But because their way of thinking is different and their beliefs are different, they actually don't come into contact. because the wavelength of their mind is different. So by leaving that world where you're living with people with similar minds and everybody's very agreeable, and you come to this world, everybody's thinking is so different. We're with people who think so differently from ourselves, and that's how we can really understand more deeply a bigger picture about humans and other people and ourselves, and learn how to get along with all types of people. So we're seen from this perspective, this world is a training ground for our soul, where we leave the other world, the heavenly world, and we're born into this world, and we aim to do our best to refine our character, while at the same time try to contribute in some way to the world around us and to the happiness of other people. This is an essential teaching in happy science. So I'm going to now like to show, because, how can we know this truth? What I'm saying, I think it's a very logical, it's a wonderful idea. Where does this idea come from? Well, we've been really lucky in that we're born in an age where a great teacher is on the earth at the moment. His name is Master Ryuho Okawa. He's the founder of Happy Science. So like all the religions, they were all founded by somebody great who came with a mission to found the religion. Of course, we've got Muhammad in Islam, we've got Jesus in Christianity, we had Buddha in Buddhism, and there's been so many others throughout history. We've got people like Confucius and Socrates, great teachers of the past, and they've been coming from time to time. And I don't think anybody would disagree that the world needs a teacher now. The world needs a great teacher. We just look around the world and the problems we have in the world today, from just about every angle. We need a great teacher to lead us in the right direction. Well, I'm really very, very grateful that I found in 1994 Happy Science through discovering a book in the Auckland Public Library called The Laws of the Sun, written by Master Ryuho Okawa. So I'd like to just show this short clip explaining about Master Okawa, where he came from, and what he's been doing.
Master Ryuho Okawa is known as a global visionary because of his deep spiritual insight and commitment to guide the world to a brighter future. To date, he has authored over 2,100 books, translated into 28 different languages. That is averaging one book every 5 days since Happy Science began 30 years ago. He has given over 2,500 lectures in 14 countries on all 5 continents. The topics covered range from the teachings of the mind and the truth of the spirit world, education, philosophy, politics, economics, culture and the arts, and even outer space. Master Okawa was born in Japan in 1956. He studied politics at Tokyo University, majoring in the field of law. After graduating, he joined a trading company and was relocated overseas to the New York headquarters. Master Okawa states that the Big Apple is his second hometown. New York has played a role in his journey to awakening to his grand mission. Having had a spiritual awakening a year prior to his transfer, his time working in New York was one of receiving direct messages from heaven while working long hours with his colleagues on Wall Street in the intense world of international finance. During this time, he deepened his spiritual awareness that would result in his activities later. Then what was this spiritual awakening that Master Okawa experienced? When Master Okawa received a revelation from heaven, he attained great enlightenment and was awakened to the hidden part of his consciousness, El Cantare. El Cantare means the light of the earth. It is the name of the supreme God of the earth who has guided humanity from the beginning of the earth's creation. The history of humanity was never a product of chance. The nucleus of new civilizations were the high spirits from heaven sent down to earth every hundreds or thousands of years by God. And now, here on earth, the mission of El Cantare continues to bring salvation to the world and to all of humanity through the dissemination of the truth. It is also to build an ideal world and usher in a new age of spirituality. To accomplish this, he founded Happy Science Group in 1986, which is now a global religious movement in over 100 countries. Based on truth, Happy Science is expanding from religion into fields such as politics, education, the media, culture, and arts.
So as you could see, it's quite a large movement, Happy Science. I was fortunate enough that when I found the book, as I said, in 1994, and I read it and I felt, jeepers, this just makes so much sense. So after about maybe 8 months or so, I decided to go to Japan and see for myself. And I arrived just 4 days before his lecture, one of his lectures in that Tokyo Dome, the huge arena that was shown on the screen there. And there's around 60,000 people come to hear him speak. And I mean, he'd only been preaching for 8 years. And already he was attracting so many people. And it's because his words are so powerful, because the words make so much sense and they resonate in people's hearts. So this is a movement that is going to spread around the world over the next few hundred years. What we're seeing is just the beginning. Just as Christianity and Islam and all the religions of the past and Buddhism, they took a long time to spread. They didn't suddenly, somebody arrive and then boom, everybody believed. They take time. And so you people here are actually very fortunate, because today you have discovered something that was going to influence this world on a global scale. It's something that will affect your future lives, because, as I said before, we come to this world for soul training. You'll return back to the spirit world. People in the spirit world will also be studying these teachings, because once we get back to the other world, we don't just sit around doing nothing all day. We study stuff. We try to increase our enlightenment. And then you'll be reborn back in this world. And the chances are, because Master said, on average it's about 300 or 400 years between our incarnations. So we'll live on this world for 70 or 80 years, learn what we can, live in this difficult materialistic world, go back to the spirit world, where it's a wonderful world where you don't have a physical body, so there's no illness, there's no pain, there's no suffering, there's no worrying about dying, there's no need for money, there's no need for food, you can do whatever you want all day long, you don't need to sleep, so 24 hours is, the whole day, and you're living in the light the whole time, and you're with people you want to be with. Oh, it sounds perfect, right? Well, that's why they call it heaven. It's heaven, So if you can imagine that lifestyle, how wonderful that is, you think, well, why would I ever live there? Why would I ever leave there? But the truth is that we leave there because, just like a person would take themselves to the gym and do training, which is difficult, to make their body strong. I mean, going to the gym, nobody goes there for the massage and the joy. It actually causes a lot of suffering when people are going through the exercises, but they know it's good for them. So people are willing to take themselves off the couch, sitting behind the TV, eating their nice chips, and go to the gym and do exercise and put effort and sweat and have a tough time, because they know it's good for them. It's exactly the same reason why we leave the spirit world, because we know that it's good for the soul, the training for the soul, to keep the soul healthy, keep the soul strong. So in about 300 years time or 400 years time, when people come back here, this teaching will have spread around the world. So this teaching will influence your life, and actually probably by the fact that you've come across it now, you'll already have a connection, because I'm not going to go into this, but there's a thing called karma in our lives, which means that our life now affects our next life, very much so. So the fact that you've actually found Happy Science and have got an interest in Happy Science means it'll be much easier for you to find it and connect with it in your next life. So this is really the basic teaching on Happy Science. And to me, if this teaching spread around the world, just imagine if everybody in the world learnt from a young age that you're a spiritual being, not just a physical being. The purpose of your life is to train and polish your mind. You have this divine nature within you, this Buddha nature or divine nature. And the purpose of your life is to discover that divine nature within you and try and make it shine. Try and be the best person you can. Try and live within the difficult circumstances and be a person that can shine your light in the world and contribute to the happiness of the world. And while you're trying to develop yourself, at the same time, try and contribute to this world and make it a beautiful world, because you're going to be born again sometime into the world. And what sort of world do you want to come back to? You want to come back to a beautiful world, right? You want to be born in a harmonious world. So we start thinking about not our own lives, but the lives of everybody around the world in all the different countries. Okay, so if everybody in the world could believe this, and it's the truth, that's the nice thing about it. This is actually not a fairy tale, this is the truth. If everybody could know this was the truth, our world would change. If people realize that all these different religions have been come from different people because God just wanted us to understand the truth about the other world and who we really are, the fighting would stop. So this teaching of happy science, it's the hope of the world. This is the way forward for the world. It's the belief and a faith in something that gives us a chance to change the world. So that's the big picture of happy science, about what happy science is all about and what we're aiming to achieve. So today's seminar, we can narrow things down because, as we saw in that thing, Master Okawa has published now, actually they said 2,100, but actually it's now over 2,200 books. He's published over 2,200 books. I mean, as I said, that is equivalent to about one book every 5 days since he started Happy Science in 1986. That's a phenomenal amount of books. And he also started Happy Science University to try to teach people, through education. And the year before he was starting up Happy Science University, he was publishing books so quickly because he was producing material for the students to study. There was 1 year he wrote 300 books in 1 year. Now there's only 365 days in a year. Imagine how many books, how can you write 300 books in 1 year? Now this is proof that he is really who he says he is. The proof of who he is, that he says he is by the results of what is happening, what he's pushing into this world, by the results of what he's able to achieve. So his teachings cover so much, from economics. He teaches people how to create wealth in your life, how to become wealthy. I'm not going to go into that. We've got other seminars on that. But it all comes back to the mind. Everything always comes back to the mind. If you're poor, it's because somewhere in your mind you've got a poverty mentality. You don't believe in wealth enough. You're not seeing what you want to do with that wealth. You haven't got a big enough vision about what you can do with that wealth to bring happiness to other people in the world. And you haven't got enough love wanting to do that. So if you develop yourself to want to give love to more people, and you use your intelligence and your idea that I can use wealth to benefit so many people, you can attract wealth into your life. Illness, same thing. His teachings on illness, how to overcome illness, is all about the mind as well. If our mind has negative aspects in it, these negative aspects create a shadow on our soul, and from the shadow on our soul it manifests into our physical body. So people in Happy Science, many times, many illnesses are cured. People have cured so many illnesses through learning Happy Science and actually really applying them to their life, discovering what inside is causing the problem and getting rid of the problem. Now this is the law of cause and effect. Everything happens from something. If you've got an illness, there's a reason for it. If you're in poverty, there's a reason for it. If you're unhappy, there's a reason for it. And in Happy Science, by understanding the law of cause and effect, which is always something deep within your mind, you can change your life completely. So today's one, which is, it's down to a narrow teaching about creating a spiritual screen. So first of all, we can say, what is a spiritual screen? Well, quite simply, it's a spiritual barrier that blocks you or detaches evil influence from you. So then we go, there's always one piece of truth always opens up a whole more bunch of questions. Because from that you could say, well, where do evil influences come from? Or why are evil influences even influencing me? So that's the thing about, as we discover teachings in Happy Science, one little bit of truth suddenly adds to a whole new bunch of questions. So this quest for knowledge, this quest for understanding the truth, is a wonderful path, and it never ends. And for me, the most joyous part about it is all these teachings coming from Master Okawa answer every question that you could ever have.